The following is a presentation of CUTV Sports and CUTV Sports 1.
Hello, welcome to the Gary Dunn Show for October 17th, 2017. I'm your host, Gary Smith. On today's show, we're going to talk to Coach about this past weekend's exciting homecoming weekend festivities, game, action, all wrapped up into one. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming week's opponent, the Gannon Golden Knights, and then look at scores and standings from around the PSAC East and West and talk all things Vulcan football. And without further ado, let's bring on the man himself, Coach Dunn. And Coach, I was expecting to see two of you in here because homecoming Saturday, everywhere I looked, I saw you. I was like, maybe they're doing maybe we have a doppelganger for you like they do the president.
Yeah, busy weekend here in California, but it was great. You know, the crowd, the alumni. What a great weekend here in California.
Yeah, it was a beautiful. We were talking off camera. It was a beautiful weekend. Probably the first homecoming weekend in either of our collective memory that was both sunny and not raining. Yeah, some years we've had sun and rain. Some years we've had sun and cold. Some years we have rain and cold. But I don't know who your contacts are. But it was a perfect day, and like I said, every time I turned around on Saturday, whether the parade or the game, someone like, hey, there's Coach Dunn. Coach Dunn, like, man, he's going to sleep well on Saturday night, I'll tell you that. I was moving around
pretty good. You know, anytime you have a chance to have as many alumni back as we did, you know, you got to kind of make your way around campus and try and see as many folks as you can. Started with the president's breakfast in the morning, and then we had a team walkthrough and team breakfast and just moving around all day. But what a great turnout of former Vulcan football. You know, we honored the 2017, which is one of the best teams in school history, and they were here. Really former Vulcans from every era. You know, I saw some pictures from the tailgate up at the pavilions at the stadium, and just, you know, got to hang out with those guys afterwards. What a great day for California football to have so many former Vulcans back in the place, and it was just a great day all around.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking around and being around as long as I had, that is definitely the most former players that take away. Probably you can take the amount of players that came back for homecoming and combine that number, and it wouldn't add up to the last couple of years. I mean, that was impressive to see, just the support former players are giving you and your team and everything like that.
Yeah, once a Vulcan, always a Vulcan, right? And those guys came out, and a lot of guys I played with here, but guys from, like I said, from every era, from 2007 and some younger guys than that, and our older alumni. Just a great day for Vulcan football, and it tells you how special it is to play football here and be a former player here.
And that's got to be great for the guys on the team now, seeing that, hey, your time here is only 3 or 4 years, but you're a part of something much larger than yourself and something you take pride in for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Our guys, I think they really, really appreciate the alumni support. You know, get to see those guys in town, and we had some guys swing by the office, and just nice to have them back and involved with the program.
And I tell you what, the ones that came back definitely had an exciting afternoon of football to watch. Like I said, Coach, it seems like every week we say, you know, it's coming down to the wire, and you know, it's great because, you know, some teams facing some adversity would fold, but your team, no matter what's happening, is you know, strapped that strap a little tighter and hung in there and got a win in a close game, and a game that Clarion, you know, tried hard to get back into. But, you know, let's talk about, you know, what ultimately won the game. Your defense stopped 3 4th-and-goal situations throughout the game, which was huge.
Yeah, our defense is playing really well, and they really controlled the game. Offensively, I know we'll get into it, we were a little out of sync in the second half, but when your defense is playing like that, controlling the game, being physical, stopping the run, hats off to those guys. They played a tremendous game, and especially, you know, with their backs against the wall, when they got down in the red zone, they really tightened up in a lot of key, crucial points, and that was the difference in the game. You know, our defense really carried us on Saturday.
And not only stopping the opposition's offense, but also scoring points at the end of the second quarter. You know, another pick six and make it 21-0. Like I said, it was just impressive to see. Like you said, whenever Clarion got into the red zone, I think, you know, Cal stopped 3 4th-and-goal situations, and that ultimately won the game. Now on the offensive side, I start off hot. First 2 drives of the game, or 2 of the first 3 drives of the game, result in points, and it looked like things were we're back to the salad days.
Yeah, well, going back to the defense, Brendan Edwards made a great jump on the ball and a great read and was able to get in the end zone. And then we had, Justin Baker was an absolute warrior all day. He was, named Defensive Player of the League in the conference this week for his efforts, which were great. But really a solid effort from everybody on that side. Offensively, we started in the first half good, and it just kind of got out of sync. And give Clarion credit, they were doing some things that were good, but we just didn't make plays on third down, and we had opportunities. We had a couple drop balls. We had, maybe a bad read here, a missed block here that really hurt us. And that's offensive football. You've got to have 11 guys on the same page doing the right thing. And when one guy kind of makes a mistake or screws up, it's going to cost your execution. Defensively, you can overcome those things. If someone misses a tackle or misses a read, you've got another 10 other guys running the football, you can overcome it. Offensively, unfortunately, you can't. And give Clarion credit, they did a nice job. And really, the field possession in the second half was big. So we were backed up quite a bit in the second half and just kind of couldn't get it rolling. We had some opportunities. We missed the field goal in the second half, which happens. It just wasn't our day in the second half. Hopefully, we'll be better and we'll grow from it.
And like I said, even though the second half probably wasn't, check off a lot of, B and A grades, team still got the win. I thought. You mentioned special teams, even though they missed a field goal. Once again, special teams, as much as the defense with the 4th and goal stops, that blocked extra point in the fourth quarter was huge for the Vulcans.
Yeah, and we take pride in that, and that's something we work on every week. It's funny, some of the things we work on in practice were really the difference on Saturday. We work on our block team and our PAT field goal team every Monday. That's the first thing we do each Monday and really put an emphasis on it, and that showed. And then we do red zone periods during practice, and it was funny as it went. The defense beat the offense this week in the red zone 3-0. We get to the game and it carried over, and they really held Clarion out of the end zone, and that's the exact period that we do. So. But at the end of the day, we want to win the football game. And we don't care how we get it done as long as at the end of the day we have more points on the board than them. We're excited about it. Now we have some things we're going to clean up and talk about. We had a great workout yesterday. We had a lot of energy. We'll get back to work today on Tuesday and try and correct some things to be better.
And let's take a look back at this past weekend's homecoming action against the Clarion Golden Eagles. And after the break, we'll talk about this upcoming week's opponent, the Gannon Golden Knights. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.
Here gets the ball, drops back in the pocket, looking to throw. Over in the area of, I believe that is going to be Luke Smory, and it will be, as he took advantage right there. Looked a little bit of a speed difference as Luke Smory just burned his defender. Michael Keir in that shotgun set, drops back to throw, stepping up in the pocket. Looks like he's just going to keep the ball and get into the end zone. We're going to see, and there is the sign that was a touchdown. Gets the ball and looking to throw. An interception there for California, and Brendan Edwards stepping up and getting into the end zone. Defensive effort for California puts even more points on the board. As Clarion pushes up, and actually Woolard's going to keep it. They're going to say he did not get it. Gives it off to McGriff, and McGriff finds Pater getting into the end zone for the Golden Eagles. Dropping back to throw, feeling the pressure in the middle of the field. Johnson brings it in, but it will be short of the goal line. That is a touchdown. Same place, same spot. Mason Standard gets into the end zone. Kick is up, and it is blocked, as that is now another blocked kick for California special teams. Now Evans is going to get right into the end zone. Drops back, looking to throw. California's defense is right there, and the ball comes out, and it would be no good. The attempt is no good.
Dylan, what's wrong, man? I still know how my family back home in Buchanan, West Virginia can watch our stuff up here.
They can follow us on Twitter, or they can like us on Facebook.
That's awesome. What about our sports? How can they watch that?
They could watch it live right on our YouTube channel.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Do you want information on the 2017 Vulcan football team? Look no further than the Gary Dunn Show.
I was really proud of our efforts, especially from our senior class that had been through a lot, and for those guys to walk out of here with the PSAC championship.
Coach looks back on last week's game and looks ahead to the upcoming opponent.
You know, we're really starting over and trying to build that foundation for the 2017 season.
Don't miss Vulcan highlights, PSAC standings, schedules, and much, much more.
The Friday Night Lights shine on CUTV. August 25th, California at Brownsville. September 1st, Monessen at Carmichael's. September 8th, Southmoreland at Charleroi. September 22nd, McGuffey at Elizabeth Forward. September 29th, Franklin Regional at Connellsville. October 6th, Trinity at Bell Vernon. October 13th, Rochester at California. October 20th, Newcastle at Ringgold. October 27th, Washington at Best Center. Live on CUTV Sports 1, tape delay, CUTV. Vulcan football is back. August 31st versus Ohio Dominican. September 9th versus Cheney. September 16th at Millersville. September 23rd versus Seton Hill. September 30th at Slippery Rock. October 14th versus Clarion. October 21st at Gannon. October 28th versus Mercyhurst. November 4th at Edinboro. November 11th at East Stroudsburg. Catch all the action live with your home of the Vulcans. CUTV Sports 1 on YouTube and radio on 91.9 FM WCAL.
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show. I'm Gary Smith along with Coach Dunn. And Coach, we just saw highlights from last year's game against this coming week's opponent, the Gannon Golden Knights. And before we talk about that, I got to thank Sports Information's Alex King for that infographic for the upcoming schedule. Told him we'd use it this week. And so now every Vulcan fan knows what's going on across the Vulcan universe. But getting back to business at hand, Coach, Gannon coming into this week's game. One thing you can say is they're rolling, and they're rolling on the ground.
Yeah, really talented bunch offensively. they're averaging over 300 yards a game rushing, over 150 passing, close to 500 yards a week, and they're rolling. Put 76 points on the board. Had a couple, excuse me, big wins in a row. They got things rolling. They're a really good club.
And last year they were kind of towards the bottom of the PSAC West, and even this year coming into, they weren't. I think they were picked preseason, picked to the bottom. But what do you see on tape that has them getting on this roll to this weekend?
Really balanced across the board. Really talented kids. Offensively, they got a tailback, I think, that is going into last week was leading the entire country in every division in rushing. So anytime you run the football that effective, you're going to be good. They've got a couple quarterbacks that have played. They're doing a nice job. They got a couple big play receivers. Offensively, really, really balanced. Love to run the ball. And when you commit more guys to the box, and they're going to hurt you with the pass. Defensively, run a little different defense than anybody else we face. Run a 3-3 stack. They've got talented guys up front, talented linebackers, and I really think probably one of the deepest secondaries that we'll see. So it's going to be a tough test on the road. We've got to show up and play our best football to win this one.
I think we could probably just copy and paste that statement, tough test on the road, because this year, it seems like every week on the road has been a different kind of ball game for you, especially, 2 games on the road back-to-back against Slippery Rock and IEP, then home for homecoming, then back on the road to Erie, which is not the easiest road trip, 12 o'clock start. We talked a little bit off camera, and it seems like we ask this every week, but since the game time switches every week, it's a 3-hour drive. Does that change anything that you guys do?
No, we'll eat lunch here on Friday. Our guys will go to class in the morning and take care of business there, and then we'll have a little walk through here and get on the road. It's going to be nice. I think our guys enjoy when we get on the road, can stay in a hotel. It's about Cal football and hanging out together. We'll have a nice dinner up there in Erie, and then the only difference is we got to wake up an hour earlier. So you move everything up an hour earlier with 12 o'clock start. But I know our guys will be eager to play and eager to compete, and it's going to be a great college football game.
For the players that have been there before, everyone knows that is a unique stadium to play. One-side bleachers that's basically in the middle of downtown Erie, and depending on where you stand in the stadium, you can see Lake Erie. So it's in one way, it's one of the coolest looking stadiums in the conference. In one way, it's just kind of tough to wrap your head around just the way it's built. So, but is that something you ever have to worry about?
No.
They're all 100 yards by 54?
They're all going to be 100 yards.
Okay.
They got 2 goal posts, and our guys will be ready to compete. It's getting to that point in the season where, you understand what you need to do. We've cut practice back a little bit. We're shortening things up because we have been at it since August 6th. But Saturdays, our guys love Saturdays, I'll tell you that.
And you just mentioned this time of season, I know you say it's always a 1-week season, but obviously, one of the dates you look at is homecoming, because usually once you get to homecoming, you're well over that halfway point. As a matter of fact, I think there's only 3 or 4 games left. Now, does that change anything focus-wise or scheduling-wise that we're that late in the season?
No, like I said, you just kind of cut things back. You probably do less individual work. You do a little, your film work isn't quite as long because the kids know the expectations, know the scheme. You're really not putting anything new in this late in the season. It's about getting better at what you do, and you try and take care of your guys, and that's the thing. We do a great job here with our strength and conditioning coaches of keeping our guys healthy and keeping them active, but really it's time where you start shortening the practice up a little bit and getting them off their feet, because the season is a grind. When you start in early August and the time you get to the middle of October, bodies tend to wear down, so you got to try and keep them as fresh as possible.
And I think that's one thing people don't really realize, that the schedule, even though, it's an 11, 12 game schedule most years, it's daily grind. And like you said, beginning of August, and obviously your mind was not starting. It's not August 1st, okay, my mind's starting. I mean, you've been thinking about it since probably end of December last year going into this year. I mean, it's just a mental and physical grind.
It is, on the players and the coaches. Our staff works 7 days a week. We play on Saturdays. We're in Sunday morning breaking down the film and getting ready for the next opponent, and it gets a little easier as the week goes on, but it's a grind on the coaches too. So you gotta kind of balance that and take care of those guys as well.
And the next opponent up on the grind is the Gannon Golden Knights. That game is this Saturday from O'Connell Family Stadium on the shores of Lake Erie in downtown Erie, Pennsylvania. The game time is 12 noon. Implore everyone to make the scenic drive up Route 79. It's only about 3 hours from California. There's about 31 Tim Hortons between here and there. So if you like donuts and coffee, you have plenty of places to pull off and get some of that. If you can't make the trip, California University Television and Radio have you covered. The game will be live on our YouTube channel, CUTV Sports 1, and on radio it will be on 91.9 FM WCAL. So you can listen to this coach's show on the pregame before that. So plenty of ways to stay involved. And if those two methods don't suit your fancy, you can also watch live stats provided by through the Cal Vulcans website, calvulcans.com. And before we put a bow on this week's episode, we got to take a look back and see what's happening all across this great state of ours in the largest Division II conference, PSAC. Let's take a look back at this past week's scoreboards. First in the PSAC West, you see the Cal Clarion 21-19. Edinburgh squeaking by Mercyhurst 28-25. They had one of those teams had a long road trip there.
Yeah, right.
About 15 minutes. The game of the week in the PSAC, one of the games of the week in the country this week, IUP over Slippery Rock at Slippery Rock 34-17. And then this coming week's opponent, Gannon 76-31 at Seton Hill. And like you said, Gannon is rolling, putting up points and putting up numbers. Let's take a look at the PSAC East, as there was a couple interesting results. Kutztown all over East Stroudsburg 41-9. Bloomsburg squeaking by Westchester 20-19. A little bit of a shock because it seemed like both of those teams were going different directions, but that being a rivalry game, Bloomsburg comes out on top by 1. Millersville getting by Lock Haven 34-21 in Shippensburg over Cheney 56-0. Now let's take a look at the standings after the 4th week of divisional play. See California right there in a logjam for 3rd behind IUP Slippery Rock, in a tie with Edinburgh, Gannon, and Mercyhurst. And the teams below you play, Gannon this week, Mercyhurst the next week, and Edinburgh. So plenty of time to have some things change on that board.
Yeah, everybody's jumbled up. Obviously, 2-2, and got a chance to have a special year. 5-2 overall, but we've got good football teams coming up on obviously on the road. You got Gannon on the road. We get Mercyhurst at home. Got to go to Edinburgh. So it's going to be, we've got to continue to grow and develop and get better. And I think our guys will do that. Let's
take a look at what's happening on the PSAC East throughout this week. You have a logjam on top. Speaking of logjam, Shippensburg, Bloom, Kutztown, and Westchester. I know the office in Lock Haven is probably hoping someone breaks out because I'm not sure what the procedure is for a 4-way tie. And I know, of course, like on the West, a couple of those teams have to play each other, so it'll work its way out. But 6-1, 5-2, 5-2, 5-2. So there's a lot of good football being played across the state.
Yeah, that side's crazy right now with 4 teams tied at the top, and it's going to be interesting coming down the stretch and a lot of big games on that side.
And let's take a look at this coming week's slate of games all across the PSAC. A lot of noon and 1 o'clock kickoffs, and then 1 and 4 o'clock there. You see Slippery Rock at Edinburgh, IUP at Clarion, Seton Hill at Mercyhurst, Cal at Gannon. That completes the noon kickoffs. And then Millersville at Shippensburg, Westchester at Cheney, Kutztown at Lock Haven, and then Bloomsburg at East Stroudsburg at the late game. And, Coach, if you're not going to watch fans going to watch our game, what was the other game that you would think they should pay attention to?
Yeah, the one on the west, Slippery Rock at Edinburgh. That's always a big rivalry game, and it'll be interesting to see that one. And then the Millersville-Shippensburg game. Millersville's playing really well. We went up there and battled those guys a few weeks ago. They've rolled off a couple wins, and they're a much improved ball club, which I knew they would be. Their coach does a terrific job. That'll be a good one to watch as well.
Like you said, any game in any part of this conference is going to be a good one. That's as a fan what I always like watching the scores come in, because you never know what's going to happen, especially when, during our game whenever we saw the Gannon score 76, then the Bloomsburg score. I mean, it was just you're going to have both extremes going on.
It's a fun league, and get a chance to see all these teams on the crossover games, and it's a fun league to play in and coach in, and very, very competitive.
And we're coming up to the final part of the season. Like I said, once again, if you can't make it up to Erie this weekend, CUTV and WCAO have you covered. That kickoff is at noon. Once again, CUTV Sports 1, and then on the radio, 91.9 FM, WCAO. And then, Coach, any final thoughts?
Where better would you rather spend an October weekend than Erie, Pennsylvania?
And you know what?
Come on up and enjoy the fall lake, and I'm sure they've got pumpkin patches, and what I'm sure my wife will find one of those on her way up. But come on up and follow us, and we need your support, and we appreciate it.
And not to jinx it, I was talking to their sports information director the other day. He said the weather for this late in the season is going to be perfect up there. Probably about high 60s, low 70s, no rain. This will be the first. I remember, Coach, this before you got here, but a couple years ago we were doing a game, and literally we had every season. It was a 70 at kickoff and then 31 by the end of the game. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
So, but the only way is come up and experience. So,
exactly.
Coach, good luck this weekend. We'll see you up on the shores of Lake Erie, and hope to be back next week with a big smile on our face.
Yeah, appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
For Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. You've been watching The Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV, and we'll see you next week.